Hi everyone, so finally I come with Bhagavad Gita chapter 6. Chapter 6 according to me is very interesting. If I'm to decode chapter 6, it covers mainly 4 sections. I find it extremely modern in terms of the way it teaches how to lead your life. So in chapter 6, the first part talks about how to get yourself free from anxiety. Then it goes on to talk about how to free yourself of being judgmental. Then it talks about concentration and focus. And then it talks about life and its chances. So I find this chapter very, very interesting. It has 47 shloks. Of course, I'm not going to chant 47 shloks. But whatever little that I know, I will be chanting, and some I will be talking about. So yeah, I was taking a little time to because I was reading a lot on this, and then again, for me, it's just a way of life, and it's personally it helps me a lot. So I hope it will help you too. So chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, and let me start. So it goes like this. It starts with like this. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Ya Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Naniragnir Chakriya, which it talks about that we talk about big things about someone is a sannyasi, someone is a yogi, and so on and so forth. But one who is connected with work is as good as a sage. So anyone who is completely in love with the work and with the work for work itself can be someone who is on the path towards self-realization, towards eternal bliss. Because in Shlok 3 it says Arurokshar munir yogam karma karanam uchyate yogarurhasya tasyaiva shamakaranam uchyate. So a beginner who wants to go to the path of realizing the self or realizing the God. So basically a beginner who is in the path of self-realization, because the more you realize yourself, the closer you come to God. And God can be, again, I keep on saying this, that God can be whatever you consider, whoever you consider to be your God. We don't want to talk about who's God. And yourself can be your God. So it talks about that when a person is just on the path of self-realization, if the person is getting closer to his or her work, she'll anyway find herself, because that's where one gets elevated. Because again, another personal shlok, personal favorite that I love is Uddharedatmanatmanam Natmanam avasadayet Atmaivayatmano bandhur Atmaivari That your mind can be your best friend and your mind can be your greatest enemy. So the way your mind is working, the way you are controlling your mind is what will help you realize what you want in life. Now, for me, personally, Shlok 1 to Shlok 5 is basically, it talks about how to get yourself free from anxiety. Now, how does it do that? It doesn't tell you directly that, okay, these are the ways you get yourself free from anxiety. But from where does anxiety come? It comes from expectation of results. And if you are concentrated and meditated towards work, you're as good as any sage. Shlok 7, 8, they also talk about winning over the mind. Shlok 9 onwards, it goes to a different, it takes a different track, I would say. In the sense, Shlok 9 talks about how we base our judgment on the basis of whether we like a person or whether we don't like a person. So if we are prejudiced, then we automatically negate that person's opinions and what that person is saying. And if we like a person, whatever the person is saying, we consider it to be the word which has to be taken seriously. Not always. So let me get into this shlok. It says, Suri mitrayorudasina madhyastha dvesha bandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate, which basically says that whether a person is good or whether the person has committed any sin or whatever, somewhere you maintain an equanimity, somewhere you maintain a balance in the way you listen to what the other person says. Somewhere detach from whether you like or whether you dislike a person. Now this is Shlok 9. Shlok later on, in the same, so in Shlok 10, 11, 12, 13, it talks about how to increase focus and what is the technique to do it. So it says that first is you sit in seclusion, you find yourself, you become aware of yourself, you be with yourself, and then after being with yourself, find a place which is not too high, not too low. And on that, you sit absolutely still. Like all these meditation and all that you see on videos and yoga and everyone, so they talk about stillness. And you sit still. And then a particular technique is taught, which I found very interesting. I did it, I tried it, and it works. Where when your mind is going like crazy, like your mind is going like a monkey from here to there, focus on the tip of your nose. Because when you focus on the tip of your nose, physically you're just focusing on a particular point. And that immediately brings you to yourself. That immediately makes you connected. And if we're talking about getting connected with ourselves, the first thing we need to do is focus. So in fact, therefore, this shlok is also very nice. I like chanting this shlok. So it goes like this: Shuchau deshe pratisthapya sthiramasanam atmana natyuchritam nati nicham chalijina kushottaram tatraikagram manakritva yata chittendriya kriya upavishasane yunjat yogamatma vishuddhaye samam kaya shiro grivam dharyanacchalam sthira samprekshanasikagram swam dishaschana valokyan. That you sit like that, focus on nasikagram, like focus on the tip of your nose and get yourself together. So this comes from Shlok 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then we go to the next part. Now, Shlok 14, 15, 16, 17, that also talks about a way of life. I will recite the shlok because I think Shlok 14, 15, 16, 17, 16, 17 I will not really chant, but 14, 15 I will. It can be, if you look at the apparent meaning of it, it's something else. But if you just go a little, if you just scratch the surface and go a little beyond, then it talks about something else, because it goes like this: Prashantatma vigitabhir brahmachari vrate sthita manasamyamya madhitto yukta siddhamatpara युञ्जानीवं सदात्मानं योगी नित्यात्मानसा शान्ति निर्वना प्रणामम् मत्संस्थामादि गच्छति, which talks about that, apparently if you think that, oh my God, it's talking about brahmacharya means, being a celibate, and they had to, so brahmachari was the time when people were learning, they had to remain unmarried, and a lot of other things. Now when you see it, it talks about people. I've always seen a lot of interpretation where the moment people are looking at Shlok 14, does it mean that one has to be celibate? No, because if you see Krishna, it's Bhagwan who is telling Arjun. Arjun is someone who is married with children and so on and so forth. But brahmachari sthita means you are in a state of learning. So if you are in a constant state of learning, you get connected to yourself. And the more, because if you're in a constant state of learning, you're more aware of yourself and how you react to certain external stimulants, how you react to certain people. The more aware you are, the better you want to get elevated, in the sense it becomes easier to practice something called compassionate detachment. I learned from a young friend of mine, which I found it to be a very interesting term. And then I think I love the other two, because the other two shlokas I'm not chanting, but I would talk about it, where Shlok 16 and 17 talks about moderation, where it says that if you really want to get connected, like in the beginning, Sri Bhagavan talked about that the best way to get connected is through work, and not really expecting desire, and not really expecting any results from that work. So, but here in Shlok 16, 17, Sri Bhagavan talks about moderation, where Sri Bhagavan says that don't eat too much. I find it very difficult to, if I like something, I would like to really eat it. But I think physically controlling yourself can get you towards controlling the mind. I think that is what Sri Bhagavan is talking about, where Sri Bhagavan is saying that don't eat too much, don't sleep too much, just do it in moderation. Don't even exercise too much. You can walk, you can do. So don't do anything in excess, because excess means you are taking your mind out of, you don't have yourself, and because everything relates here to the mind. So the moment you're eating too much, you're focusing too much on that rather than the work that you're supposed to do. Here is a way of life that is being talked about, and like in modern life, everyone is now talking about moderation and so on and so forth, and especially after the pandemic. So this is what Sri Bhagavan says, that do whatever you do, but do it in moderation. Sri Bhagavan doesn't really tell you about what to eat, what not to eat, but all that Sri Bhagavan says is practice moderation, practice balance. And then, from Shlok 18 till 30, it is only talking about, it talks about finding yourself, being connected with yourself. The more you detach from your expectations and the results, there's more of elevation of the self. The more aware you are, the more connected you are of the self. Now, Shlok 30 is a personal favorite, because I keep on saying this, that in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever Krishna is saying something, see, Bhagavad Gita is apparently this dialogue between Krishna and Arjun, but whenever Krishna is saying, it's always maintained in the Bhagavad Gita that Sri Bhagavan is saying, because Sri Bhagavan can be Bhagavan in any form, God in any form, and it can be yourself. Why I'm saying this Shlok 30 actually talks about it. Shlok 30 says, Yomam Pashyanti Sarvatra Sarvam Chamai Pashyati Tasyaham Na Pranashyami Sachame Na Pranashyati. That you will find me everywhere. You will find me everywhere if you are connected. Like I am you and you are me if you are connected with yourself. So if you're connected with yourself, then you find your God within. So you'll find me only if you are connected. If you understand what you want, what you desire, where is your anxiety happening, how to control the mind, and the slow process of getting to know yourself, of being at peace with yourself, is actually closer to realization of God. And then later on, 33, 34, Shlok 33, 34, 35, Arjun says that, okay, fine, I mean, you're talking about something which is great, but chanchalam mana kritva, I mean, the mind is very, very restless and the mind has all kind of thoughts. So that means what? If the moment the person is, detracted from this path of trying to find oneself, the person perishes to whatever, to the dark dungeons of hell. What is it? And this is what I really, really like, which says that, if your intentions are right, you'll never fall. What might happen? Because Bhagavad Gita, if you've heard me in chapter 2, it talks about rebirth and rebirth and rebirth, where here Sri Bhagavan says that so what? One can be detracted from their path. One gets an opportunity, one gets chances. One gets chances to be reborn in a wonderful household where one can practice the realization of the self. One can keep on practicing. Okay, so yes, rebirth and all of it is there, but what I like as the underlying meaning is that, if you fail once, it's okay. You get chances, and because you get a second chance and third chance, you can correct your mistakes. So, and Sri Bhagavad Gita is considered to be this very, very sacred, very, very sacred, scripture among, we know about it. But here also, nobody is talking about damnation and, finishing. We are talking about chances. It's okay to make mistakes, but the second chance, the third chance, you do get an opportunity to correct your mistakes. So this, according to me, chapter 6 sums up Bhagavad Gita. Get free, how to get free from anxiety, detached from the results of your work. Second is how to focus and concentrate, sit on a place which is neither very high nor very low, and when the mind is going everywhere, focus on the tip of your nose. Number 3 is moderation, balance. Don't eat too much, don't sleep too much, cut out the too muches. Because the moment you cut out those excesses, it becomes easier for you to concentrate on the work. Because here in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Bhagavan is constantly saying that you can get really, really connected to the inner self as to what you want, what you aspire to be, what are your mistakes, what you do right, what are your strengths. Everything, it becomes easier for you to realize either through continuous meditation or through work. And then my favorite part is, life is also about getting the second chance and the third chance and fourth chance. Yes, here it talks about, Bhagavad Gita talks about rebirth, but life itself is about chances.